Okay, so welcome back to PvZ. So it really does stand as a testament to how good this game is that even though I've now had to play this a total of 4 times to record this because I've actually lost the data 3 times throughout this playthrough, and that I'm still like, nope, this game is still fantastic. It is still a amazingly well-made game to the point where I have nothing bad to say about it. I really don't, even with the problems I had. The only criticism I actually have now because of this playthrough is the fact that I actually don't get multiple save files. That's the one criticism I now have of this game, and I didn't have it before, but boy do I now after recording this. Oh, fresh fuck. Okay, I'm trying to think. I guess it really doesn't matter what plant I bring with me, right? Yeah, I should be fine. So, we're going to complete roof. At least I think half of roof this video, and the next video will complete roof, and then a video after we'll just dedicate to Zomboss, because I think the thing with Zomboss is, you know, again, it's such an RNG dependent fight. It's either going to take me like 15 minutes or it's going to take me like an hour, and it is an issue with Zomboss. I acknowledge it. I'm not going to fanboy for this game like the Payday 3 fanboys try to defend that piece of shit. I don't know what the fuck. I just hope the devs, like, have learned their lesson. I mean, this video is going up on, like, what, the 8th, the 11th? I can't remember when this is actually specifically going up, but hopefully the game will be in a better state by then. I'm recording this on the 27th of September currently, and it's still unplayable. It's bad. I don't know what the devs were thinking by making it online only. I don't know what they were thinking by making it so it only had, like, 17 guns at launch. I mean, really, you're gonna get bored with the game after a week with that many weapons, but yeah, it's bad, and I don't feel like going over how bad it is again, because I feel like at this point I'm just beating a dead horse. An extremely dead horse. A horse that has been dead for a very long time at this point. Just gonna start putting up my walls, because I'm kind of realizing, like, yeah, this is gonna be one of those ones where, if my memory serves about roof, it's basically that You're gonna have to deal with, like, a lot of bullshit at first, because they don't give you the pod plant until I think it's level 2 or the end of level 1, I can't remember. And you still have to deal with the bungee zombies. So building as many defenses as possible is pretty much the answer. Roof is actually where the difficulty starts to actually come in, which is really nice. I actually really think that Roof is where the game truly starts to shine, because you get a lot of good stuff in post-game, and I definitely think New Game Plus, honestly, in the future, might be worth me playing through, simply because it's a lot more difficult. I gotta put something here. I probably should have picked something less expensive than a cabbage pulp, but that's fine. I just don't want them taking the pod plant, because that's way more valuable. I can't replace those. Put you there. Hopefully you can kill this guy. If not, I'm gonna have to use a squash on him. And so yeah, I'm like, I want to play more of this, and I was getting a little bit frustrated with having to replay it. You know, like, what was it, 3-4 times? I can't remember. It was a lot. It was too many, and it really does show, though, how great of a game this is, that I can play through it that many times in a row and not hate it. Like, at most, I'm feeling, like, mildly frustrated, which is very impressive that a game can do that. Like, that you can have to play through something multiple times, yet you still enjoy the game, because it's just so well made and it's so fun to play that you just don't really care. And, time recording this, the, X-Defiant beta is tomorrow, like the open session, because I'm recording this on the 27th, and I was like, I'm gonna play that, so I'm gonna get all my recording and editing done tonight, because I want to spend all day tomorrow just playing that. And as for if I'll record that, I probably won't record the open session, simply because, you know, there's not gonna be much to see there. You're just gonna basically see me. I'm probably gonna have to edit that out. There was a little bit of noise there, but basically, it's just gonna be me kind of fooling around with a game I haven't played too much. I mean, the last time I played it would have been, like, what, 2 months ago, very briefly? Actually, longer than that, because I didn't get to play the last one. Like, the last beta. Because I had too much recording and editing work to do that I just didn't have time for it. But this time, getting all my recording and editing done, and then I'm gonna focus all my time and effort on playing X-Defiant because I really, really want to. Okay, so he's adding stuff now. We are going to buy these because unlike the pool cleaners where they only protect you from like 2 tiles, these actually protect you in the entire level, so they're worth buying, unlike the pool cleaners. Pool cleaners are a waste. They are a complete waste. So this is the issue we have. There's really not much we need to buy. I was looking at the Bungie zombie for a second. I'm like, is the game lagging? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's just a really weird looking animation that sometimes just kind of freezes up. Let's just take the cherry bomb. I really don't see myself needing jalapeno because jalapeno is kind of meh. But let's just grab all the sun we need. And so a nice little strategy I actually used throughout a lot of the replay was, and I should talk about this real fast because it is a legitimate strategy for kind of grinding past the first couple levels, is, and you can do this with the rake but it's less efficient, but sometimes you'll have to do it later on, is effectively I took a potato mine, I put in the lane that the zombie was coming in, the first one, and then I just let it kind of sit there and not interfere, and then from there I basically just said fuck it, you know, I'll just put down an entire row of sunflowers, and basically by the time the zombie got to the end of the row I had a full row of sunflowers and I was starting to put down some other stuff. So that's like the nice little strat you can actually use. I didn't really know that, but I tried testing out some stuff because I was like, you know what, I'm not recording, I can test out, and I can also confirm we did not lose a single lawnmower throughout my replay, not once. I was very careful about it. I was like, no, I want to keep this run consistent with my last one. And even though I had to replay this like 3 times, 4 times, I can't remember specifically, it's been too many, I was able to just kind of avoid using any lawnmowers, which was really, really nice. So yeah, I plan to finish. I'm basically recording this all in one night. I'm getting this done. Like, absolutely. I don't want to have to record another session of this. I've got error work to do. I've got other games to play. I've still got to do the tier list for this, because I haven't done the tier list yet. I've been waiting to complete the series for that, but no, I'm going to complete this, and then we're going to do the tier list. And I don't know how long the tier list video is going to be. I'm going to go in-depth with the plants. I didn't really go super in-depth here. Like, here and there, I basically said, like, okay, you know what, I'm going to really, really talk about plants, like, where I think they are on the tier list, but I didn't actually specifically go into why they're so great. There's been a couple I have, but for the most part, I've just been like, yeah, this plant's good, or this plant is useless. And that's been kind of the extent of it, but when I do the tier list, I will be going very, very in-depth. And really going into why certain plants are good or certain plants are bad, because there are plants in here that are just awful and useless and don't do anything. Then there are plants like Sunflower that carry the whole game on their backs, because Sunflower is god tier. Sunflower is ridiculous. Honestly, I'm gonna spoil this straight up. Sunflower is definitely getting the top spot on the tier list. Maybe being out by Twin Sunflower, but I don't think so, just because it costs more. But yeah, no, Sunflower is stupid. Sunflower is so good. I actually kind of want to like do a run after this to see if I can complete the game without Sunflower at all, because I'm kind of curious if I can. I know I can on the nighttime levels, but with great difficulty. But it's interesting. I don't know if it's possible. We'll see. We'll find out. Get Twin Sunflower down there. And so as for what I'm doing in terms of Let's Play stuff, so after this is done, we're gonna start Spider-Man. Spider-Man's the next thing I'm Let's Playing, because it's coming out and I want to play it. I really, really like the first game. I liked Miles Morales despite its many, many problems. And look, I'm going to be the first to acknowledge I think Miles Morales had a lot of issues. I think that game was had a very questionable release. I think it was a DLC that they pushed out as a full game because they realized that the PS5 simply didn't have any launch titles. and Sony basically said, fuck it, just release what was effectively a glorified DLC as a full game, which, I mean, it was kind of shitty of them to do, but at the same time, it was still a very good game, even if it was a little short, even if it was lacking a teeny bit of content. Like, it wasn't like Payday 3, where you notice, like, 2/3 of the game got ripped away from the last game. Like, this was just kind of like, there could have been more stuff in here, you know, and that was kind of the issue with Miles Morales, but I still liked it. I still had fun with it. I still felt it was an enjoyable game overall. There was nothing really about it that made me say, like, oh yeah, fuck this game, which is, I think, an important distinction to make. And either once I'm done with whatever I'm Let's Playing, or once I'm done Stardew, I'm not quite sure, I'll do Elden Ring. I've been promising Elden Ring since last year, but I've just been putting it off because I really don't particularly love the game. I think it's like, I have such mixed feelings about it, because it's one of those games where I really, really like it. Please don't do that. I just can't take my twin sunflower. It's one of those games where I want to like it a lot, like I really do, but there's so many problems and so many things, and I have been replaying it in my spare time fairly recently, and I have noted they definitely fixed some of the frame rate problems. So for people who don't know, Elden Ring's bosses and some enemies in general had really, really bad frame data when the game first came out. That's why a lot of people complained, like, oh, this boss totally didn't hit me, but like I got hit anyway. That was a consistent problem throughout Elden Ring at the start of that game's launch. Like, it was so bad. And I played the game for the first 2 months it was out. Completed it, got like +9 difficulty, all that stuff done. And then I dropped it for a year and didn't play it. And I only started playing it again recently in my spare time because I was like, A, I'm going to do it for the channel at some point soon. So I want to kind of refamiliarize myself with the game. And B, there's a DLC for it coming out at some point in the near future. So I was like, I really want to like actually play through it again. I wanted to like, you know, try it out again, see if it's as bad. And they definitely have fixed a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't know what they did to Melania, because I beat her in 2 attempts. Under-leveled is like absolute sin. I mean, she was a joke. I don't know what happened there. I'm guessing they did something to her frames, but yeah, Melania was a joke when I beat her. Like, I mean, maybe it's because I was using the whip, I don't know, but I beat her with no difficulty. I mean, it took me 2 attempts, and the first time I died was my own fault. It was complete stupidity on my part. I mean, that was just absolutely dumb, but I did the classic Souls problem. I got way too greedy, which was on me, I fully admit. You know, when you play Souls games, you have to not get greedy. That is like an important lesson that I think anyone can learn. So we just got Colonel Pult. I was trying to remember if it's Colonel Pult or Colonel Pult. It's Colonel Pult. So this is probably the best catapult plant. I can't think of much better. I go back and forth between Melon Pult and Colonel Pult, but we now have officially no reason to ever touch Cabbage Pult ever again. He has become obsolete now. Cabbage Pult is really bad. We'll go into why Cabbage Pult is so terrible once we do the tier list. But yeah, Cabbage Pult's probably the worst plant in the entire game. Okay, I'm trying to see what we have. I guess just take Squash. We're gonna want Potato Mine because they're gonna potentially be breaching our defenses since they have the ladder. Okay, to pause real fast. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna be playing next in terms of like short-term content. I don't know if once we're done with like Spider-Man and, you know, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3's campaign and everything, if I'll just jump straight into Elden Ring, or if I'll wait until Stardew's done, we'll like let's play something else in the interim. I mean, I'm not sure which will come first. It's really difficult for me to like kind of tell at this stage, but I thought about it and I was like, I don't know. I don't really know like what I'm gonna do in that case, but I've been mulling it over quite a bit. And I think we'll probably just jump straight into Elden Ring once we're done with Spider-Man and COD. COD's gonna just go straight into compilation, like I said, because people really only care about the compilation anyway, so I just kind of figure I might as well do it. Had to pause really fast. Alright. Put you down here. So yeah, as you can see, Colonel Pult's way better because he can freeze zombies in place. Also, the Something I should mention is the butter actually does significantly more damage than the singular kernels. It's a little thing, but it does kind of like add up over time. Just keep collecting sun. So I'm not sure if this is how it works, but I'm pretty confident you also get slightly more sun on the roof levels. Like the RNG sun drops faster. I'm not sure if that's like accurate or not. I'm pretty confident it is. I think the in-game logic is something along the lines of like you're just you're higher up in the overall world, right? So like you're getting more sun. I don't know. I'm pretty sure you do though, because I don't remember any of the daytime levels, like normal daytime levels, giving me this much sun. And there's gonna be, I think, one singular level with a Gargantua. I should talk about the Gargantuas real fast. They're not too difficult to take out in Endless, but in like actual campaign, they're pretty tough. Only because you don't have a lot of the same tools you have in Adventure. Because you have to, sorry, not Adventure, Endless. Because the thing with Endless, right, is that they give you all of the tools you need, like, right out the gate. You have access to all your plants because you played through Adventure mode by this point, all the air modes. And the thing with Endless is that it's more about clever player setup rather than dealing with anything. Like, you can go pretty much infinitely once you actually get a proper setup. The problem is getting to that point. And I think it takes about the first 10 or so rounds to fully set up your field. But after that, you're solid. I mean, you're completely fine. I don't know if I'll ever do Endless for the channel. I've contemplated it, but it's going to be a very, very... I mean, first of all, if I do it all, it's going to be in the future. But I don't think I will. I'm kind of against the idea of doing it, only because it is RNG dependent, and I don't want to waste my time and other people's time just kind of like get a bad setup. The other thing with it too is it is a very long grind. I mean, especially if we go up to like 1,000 flags, which is what most people do when they do Endless. I don't know if I have the time and patience to do that. You can love Plants vs. Zombies like I do, but your patience will wear thin eventually. And I have a lot of other games I want to play, especially next year. First of all, I want to play that Princess Peach game, because that game looks fucking fantastic. I don't think I've talked about this. So, Nintendo announced that Peach is getting a spin-off game. Here's the thing. It looks better than any Mario game I've seen in the last decade. I cannot imagine what went into this thing, but it looks phenomenal. Like, it looks like it's got charm. It looks like it's got a lot of, like, personality to it. It looks like it's well made. I mean, we haven't really seen the game out yet, but from the trailers, it looks like... It almost kind of reminds me of, like, the old Mario and Luigi / Paper Mario games. Just, like, ton of personality, ton of well thought out puzzles and game design and a lot of other stuff, and it looks so good. And I mean, maybe I'm not the only one, because I remember watching the live stream for the Direct, and basically the entire Direct, people were overly negative. Like, people were hateful towards this Direct. And then effectively what happened was the Peach game came on screen and everyone was like, holy shit, this looks good. Which I find really interesting, because again, it was a very negative live stream. Like, I don't think anyone had any fanfare for anything that was shown at all. And then they showed that, and people were like, wow, this game looks amazing. So, I don't know, I guess, again, like, it does seem like Nintendo is slowly but sure and kind of returning back to their creative age, which I'm so happy about, because I'm really sick of Nintendo being the way they currently are. Like, I joked about this during the Mario Galaxy playthrough, but effectively what's going on for Nintendo is Zelda is like Triforce, and now open world game. Mario is like Koopas and Goombas. Pokemon is however we can sell it to 12-year-olds. Like, there's a formula to Nintendo games now that didn't used to exist. And because they've gone so formulaic, they've become boring. Right? Like, even a good example of this is Fire Emblem Engage. Like, typically when it comes to me and Fire Emblem, I just eat up anything Nintendo will dish out. And that's always been me for Fire Emblem. But with Engage, I got bored of it after, I think, like, half an hour, maybe? I mean, I completed it, but I was still like, I didn't enjoy this. Like, it was dull to me, and that was... It's not good. I don't know why it's like an issue. I can never keep any Nintendo Switch game in my hands for longer than half an hour. It's just a big problem I have with the console. I assume it's just due to lack of creativity, but it's been a bad issue. I've had the entire Switch's lifespan. Like, legitimately, I haven't actually had a single Switch game that I've held on to longer than like half an hour at a time. I think like maybe the one example, like exemption, I mean, being Mario Maker 2. That might be the only one, but that's just because it's like make your own Mario levels. How can you not go wrong? Like, how can you go wrong with that? Like, you can't go wrong with that. That's why I wish they'd make a Fire Emblem Maker. It'd just be so nice. No, instead we have to make our own Fire Emblem games. Between Mangs and Andrin Saga and me working on my game, like, it just... This feels like this is the fate of Fire Emblem now for the Fire Emblem community. It's just we have to make our own games because Nintendo can't make any good ones. Oh, God. I mean, Three Houses was fine, I guess. The reused maps really killed it. Really, really hurt the game was those reused maps. It's tragic, because I think other than that, it was a genuinely good attempt at a Fire Emblem. If a little bit weird. I mean, the thing with Fire Emblem as a franchise is you can't singularly kind of point out, like, oh, this is what Fire Emblem is. Because, like, there's more layers to Fire Emblem than that. You know, that's, like, the thing with Fire Emblem is, like, there's... It's not like Pokemon where I can inherently say, well, there's one thing that makes Pokemon Pokemon. Like, with Fire Emblem, you get varying styles of gameplay depending on the game you're playing. I mean, that's always been the thing with Fire Emblem. I mean, even going far back as, like, Fire Emblem 1, 2, and 3, right? Hell, up to, like, 4 and 5, is there's such violently different games from each other that you really can't compare them. Whereas, like, something like Pokemon, like, there's really no difference between any of, I'd say, the first 5 gens of Pokemon. Like, there's gameplay improvements, but there's no real differences. Like, I feel like Pokemon started to have a real bad identity crisis come Gen 6. And then Gen 7 onwards just been unplayable. I mean, I'm sorry if people like those, but I'm not a fan. I need to go and buy some stuff from the shop. Okay, apparently I still have a rake. Never mind. I thought it was out of rakes because it didn't show it on the map, but... Oh yeah, I guess it doesn't, right? It doesn't show it on the pre-screen. Okay, deposit to get a drink. I was real thirsty. Got real thirsty real fast. But yeah, like, Fire Emblem is a very different game. I mean, it's very, like... You have different systems per Fire Emblem game that function in very different ways, whereas, like, with, like I said, Pokemon, it is just gameplay improvements. When Pokemon's at its best, it's gameplay improvements. When Pokemon's at its worst, they try to reinvent the wheel, which... I don't know why Nintendo got this idea in their heads, like, we need to be gimmicky. It's like, no, you don't. Black and White are the ultimate examples of just be Pokemon, you know? Like, just be Pokemon and you will pump out the best game you can, but they don't do that anymore. They just rely too much on gimmicks, and it drives me insane. I'm hoping the gimmick era of Nintendo comes to an end with this new console. I really am. I mean, it definitely seems like they are, because, I mean, with this new Peach game and with... some leaks to do saying they're doing a remake of Fire Emblem 4, but, like, it's going to be extremely faithful, like Valentia was to Fire Emblem 2, makes me really happy, because the last thing I ever want is for them to change Fire Emblem 4 in any way. That game is perfect. I mean, if there's ever been a game I would say are, like, perfect games, it would be, like, Fire Emblem 4 and 9, because, like, even Thracia, for as much as I think Thracia plays with really cool ideas, Thracia has some really, really bad map design at times, and some really questionable design to do with some gameplay systems, and it's not even that I think the gameplay systems are bad, it's just more so I think, like, there's things that weren't fully fleshed out. Like, Shozo Kaga had some really, really interesting ideas when he made Fire Emblem 5, but he didn't quite know how to flesh them out properly. Like, the idea of the capturing, for example, like, it's not implemented super well. Like, it's cool that it's there, and I like the idea of it. I really do like the idea of, like, oh, you capture an enemy and then get their equipment. Like, that to me is a really awesome idea. The problem I have with that idea, though, is that it's not implemented extremely well. It's just kind of like, it's done, but it's not done in a way that could really benefit the game in any way. Like, the prison map is, like, the only map where I can think of it being done extremely well. And even then, it's only because, again, the way that it's implemented is, like, smart. It's not like, oh, we just put in... Like, I think the idea of, like, if they had not given the player any gift items at all, and the only way you could get items was from capturing, would be a really good idea, but overall, the way it's done is just kind of like... It's a little too convenient, I find. It's hard to explain. Capturing's weird. But, yeah, I was like, I want to get back to playing this, though. I need to talk about this, because I hadn't recorded this in, like, a month. Like, the last time I recorded this was, like, ooh, August at some point. I don't remember specifically when in August, but it was at some point in August was when I last played this. I need to kill this guy with a squash. This is not going well. There we go. Yeah, I was looking at him and I'm like, he is going to break through if I don't do something. That was really bad. But no, I wanted to play this because I was like, I really am enjoying Plants vs. Zombies. Like, I'm enjoying it more than I've enjoyed a Let's Play in a long time. I mean, between this and Stardew, it's been a good time to be a Let's Player. I've been enjoying both of those games immensely. Like, I've... The fact that I've done 20... What? I'm trying to think. But the one I've recorded but I haven't edited yet, I might lose the footage, I'm not sure. But I've recorded 26 episodes of Stardew basically in a row. And I've enjoyed all of them. I have not been miserable a single episode of that. When you compare that to, like, 7 days where I'm just exhausted and bored... Because, like, the thing is, I don't hate 7 days, but doing so many fucking episodes of it has just killed my ability to enjoy that game. I mean, it's just... I say this to people, if you're gonna Let's Play something, make sure you damn well enjoy what you're playing or absolutely hate what you're playing from the start, because otherwise you're gonna hate it by the end. Like, it's... Like, a great example of this is, oh god, what's a game that I played through? And I really enjoyed it at the start of the series, but I just hated it by the end. Well, I mean, Origami King, but to be fair, that was like a game I hadn't played before. I'm trying to think of like one that I've played before and hated, other than 7 days where I've grown to despise it. And again, that's simply due to the fact that I've done so many episodes of it, because I don't feel like I would be in this kind of emotional situation if I hadn't played like a billion episodes of it by now. You're talking I'm close to what, part 60? Yeah, that's fun. Oh man, yeah, 7 days. I don't know when we're gonna get back to me playing that. I think maybe the new year or maybe December. I don't know. I was kind of thinking of actually doing like Path of Radiance for December, but because I was thinking of like maybe if I can get my GameCube set up, I'd do some GameCube stuff. Maybe like Path of Radiance or Custom Robo or something. I wish I could say, like, oh, I do, like, Smash Bros. Melee, but... Because I would like to play that game's adventure mode, but I have to actually emulate it because I don't have the disc for that anymore. I sold it to a sweaty, fat Smash Bros. Melee nerd who wanted to use it because he can't be bothered to play emulation, except now they've been forced to play emulation because disc decay is a very real thing and CRTs don't exist anymore. Yeah, good luck getting yourself a CRT television in 2023. Have fun with that. What's that? You don't have $1 trillion to spend on one? Got it. Oh god. Yeah, I know what it's like. Like, look, I'm trash talking Smash Melee a little bit, but just know that I played this game competitively at one point. It's not like I'm a stranger to this franchise by any means, or this game by any means. I have played it. I played both Smash Melee and Smash 4 competitively. Very briefly in the case of Smash 4, I only played it for about a couple years with a friend because he was really into it competitively and I wanted to keep up with him because I actually really liked it on like Smash Ultimate. I haven't really talked about my problems with Smash Ultimate. I talked about it a little bit here and there, but I've never really like thoroughly discussed it. Basically, my issue with Smash Ultimate is just I don't like how much input lag there is. I think the game overall is fine. I think there's a couple really bad hitboxes, but Smash has always had that issue. But despite loving the roster, despite loving the fact that, like, you know, they brought Snake back and they had Banjo-Kazooie and they did a lot of other stuff that I really, really liked about it, it has such terrible, terrible frame data and frame rates that I just... That's the other thing. It's the only Smash game I've ever seen that has frame dipping. I don't know why it has this issue, but for some reason Smash Bros. Ultimate has dipping frames. I have no idea why. It shouldn't. I mean, it was a Switch game. It was an early Switch game, so they knew what they were dealing with. It's not like now where they're trying so desperately hard to like do stuff with and they just can't because, again, the Switch is just so old at this point that there's just nothing that can really be done. That was another thing I should talk about. So when I was playing Fire Emblem Engage on my own time, I kind of noticed that the game runs like shit because the Switch is just so old. It's having trouble with like a lot of animation stuff and having a lot of things on screen at once. And it's really unfortunate because I actually think a lot of the problems I've had with the Switch have just been because it's aging. I know Nintendo's like, oh, well, the new one's gonna probably be on the same level as like the PS4, but it's like, yeah, but that's like a decade-old console. Like, can you not make it at least up to par with the PS5? Or at the very least, the Xbox Series X? You know? Like, I'm not saying there's that much disparity between the Series X and the PS5. I think they're fairly even. I think the PS5 runs better for sure, but, like, I'd never say that, like, the Series X is a bad console. It runs perfectly fine. It does what it needs to do. It's a perfectly serviceable console, but like, if the Switch is really gonna be on par with the PS4, it's like, oh my god, Nintendo, no. Because, I mean, we're seeing that now. The PS4 is showing its age. I mean, I love that console to death, but it's definitely no spring chicken, you know? There's a reason that games are slowly moving away from it, and I feel like it got an extended lease on life only because COVID hit and people couldn't get out and buy the PS5 because of shortages because of COVID and because of a lot of other stuff that was going on due to supply chains, and there's a lot of issues. I understand, like, why, you know, why it was a problem that we had to deal with the PS4 a little bit longer than we did, and why it had an extended stay was just because we couldn't get a stable stock of PS5, but at the same time, like, guys, we can let it die now. Everyone has a PS5, or at the very least can get one if they wanted one. It's not like it's out of stock anymore. Like, you can go to Walmart and buy yourself a PS5 if you really need one. You know? Like, you don't need to start looking around and buying it from scalpers and all this shit. Like, you can just get a PS5, no difficulty, if you have the money. Like, it's not... It's dumb. I don't know why we keep putting fucking PS4 games out. Like, we don't need them. Really, they're not... It's a gen behind, and you can feel how much of a gen behind it truly is. It's rough. It is very rough. And again, I'm not trying to dislike the PS4. I think the PS4 is good enough, but PS4 could be better. It's too old. And if the Switch, like, Switch 2, whatever it's called, I keep going back and forth. I'm like, what is this console gonna be called? Because we still don't have an official announcement. The only thing we know is the developers have seen it. Like, there was a private showcase. Activision got to see it, like, a year before everyone else, which kind of makes me think, like, they're gonna put COD, at least COD Mobile on this thing. I don't think we're ever gonna see modern COD on a Nintendo console, because Nintendo's just so fucking far behind at this point, it wouldn't be possible, but... you can definitely see COD Mobile, or if they want to put like a classic like Black Ops or Modern Warfare collection on there, I think it could be doable, but yeah, no, I don't see any timeline where the Switch is going to be able to play, or whatever Nintendo console they're going to put out is going to be able to play modern Call of Duty. I mean, I've seen PCs struggle to run COD, although PCs have always struggled to run COD, except in like the very old days of COD when you could only play it on PC. I always tell people this, the best way to play Call of Duty now is to play it on fucking console, because PC is just, you're gonna get frame dips, you're gonna have shading problems, you're gonna have a lot of issues. Like, PS5, it'll run consistently at 120 FPS, and it'll run at 1080p 4K, so, I mean, what does it really matter? Like, I get that it's like, oh, if you're super well optimized and this and that on PC, you can get to run a certain way. I get that, but the average person's not gonna do that. Like, your average Timmy No Thumbs is not going to have the ability to do so. He's just going to be incapable of running it like that. Oh, God, I hate this. Can I just state how much I despise the Zen Garden? Like, we really couldn't think of a better way to, like, give the player more money. Like, as far as money grinding goes, we had to do this shit, because this is particularly awful. Like, this is not fun. Nothing about this is fun. It's bad. This is the Bungie zombie level. I know which one this is. I'm not... So my rake is completely useless here, because unless some zombie, like, it could literally get to mid-round before this rake gets used, to give you an understanding how useless the rake is here, but this is gonna be a little rough. This is the level that's entirely about Chomper and Pumpkin, and that's pretty much it. I think you maybe get Cherry Bomb at some point in this. Maybe Squash, I'm not sure, but it's mostly just Chomper and Pumpkin. And I think this will be the last level we do for this video, and the next video we'll complete Roof, and then the video after, I think we'll say fuck it, and we'll just go ahead and do Zomboss, because I don't think we can... I really don't think that we can actually do it, like, in one video. I think it'll just take too long, because I don't feel like uploading a 2-hour Plants vs. Zombies video. The thing with Zomboss is just that he's so RNG dependent, as I mentioned before. I mean, you can have the smoothest, most wonderful run of Zomboss in the world, where it's super easy and it doesn't take any time at all. You can actually beat him in, I think, 5 minutes if you actually have a really good RNG run of him, but depends if he really... See, the thing with Zomboss is it depends if he hyper-focuses on certain lanes. Like, I know, like, the best RNG you can get is if he decides to basically only focus on attacking one lane with, like, his RV and with a lot of other stuff. But Zomboss is... Okay, well, that was a waste of a Cherry Bomb. Zomboss is a bitch. He is so annoying. So desperately annoying. And I wish they hadn't designed him the way they did. I wish he had been less RNG dependent, because he's really rough. It's a cool concept for a boss. I like the idea that, like, the final boss is this hulking mass of a just mech behemoth, but they didn't have to make him as annoying as they did. It was completely unnecessary. Eat that zombie real fast, give him a good chomping. Yeah, I don't know. I think Zomboss could have been handled a bit better. He's the one aspect of this game. Him and the Blackout level are the two levels in this game that I think stand out like a sore thumb in an error-wise perfect game. Because, oof. Yeah, he's rough. He's a very rough... He feels like a first draft boss. He doesn't feel like something that they would have put in a final product build, is my issue with him. I find him a little too RNG dependent and just being a pain in the ass war of attrition boss fight, which, again, I should talk about that. That's another issue I have with Elden Ring is, dear God, the bosses have way too much HP. I talked about this, like, briefly, but it's a nightmare. I always think Elden Ring is just this game where I feel like the devs ran out of time. You know, like, that's what it always feels like to me. It's like, oh, we ran out of time to, like, actually implement the things we wanted to implement, so let's just compromise. And I think part of that is the open world. I really wish they hadn't done open world. Like, I get it. I get the open world is something a lot of Souls fans wanted, but I prefer Dark Souls 3 and earlier's, like, linear style. I think the linear style is just better. Like, I like the fact that all these areas have lore tied to them. I like the fact that there's a lot of, like, enemies, and it never feels like empty unless it's supposed to feel empty, which is something the Zelda open worlds have done very badly. I have issues with Zelda's open world. I think that, like, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are really questionable open world games. I'm sorry, I know people like them. I get that there's, like, a very dedicated fan base, but not a fan of them. I could do without them. Definitely do without them. But that's just me. I know there's plenty of people who like them. I'm just not one of them. But I wish the open world came second, I guess, is my complaint with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I wish it was, like, an afterthought. Like, because that was the thing with Watch Dogs, was, like, you had the open world, but it was really an afterthought. They didn't really put much effort into it. It was just cool that it existed, you know? But when you focus on the open world, the issue I have with open world games focusing on the open world exclusively is that you always have compromises. Like, something always gets lost, you know? And whether that's, like, a really cool idea for a boss fight, or a really cool idea for, like, a level design aspect, or something really interesting and unique here and there, something gets lost. You have to give up something to get the open world, and it bothers me superbly that that's the thing. Because I don't like that. I don't like that we have to give up something really, really cool for something mediocre. I mean, again, you want to see the ultimate example of, like, something getting given up for the fact that we got an open world? Take a look at Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where the games don't even run properly. Because we just had to have that open world. Just had to have that multiplayer experience, all this other stuff. Ugh. Not good. Not a good time. But I'm gonna get off this topic because I know a lot of people really, really like open world, and I'm sick of it because I've just seen it so many times, and there's really nothing new being done with it. I mean, again, I do think Elden Ring is the closest we've seen to something being done with an open world design, simply because of how hard that game is. And even then, it's pretty easy by Souls, like Souls game standard. Like, for a game from Software, Elden Ring is horrifically easy. Like, you compare this to Dark Souls 3 or Bloodborne or, God help you, Demon Souls, like, it's nothing. It really is nothing. But, you know what, we're going to call it a video. I've ranted long enough, and next video we're going to do the remaining roof levels, and then after that we're going to do Zomboss.